We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me in our Making Video Projects Easy presentation. This presentation applies to both your online classes and your face-to-face classes. You could use these techniques in either class. We'll start out with talking about some ideas for video projects, just for inspiration, and then we'll focus on some tools that you and your students can use to create video projects. We'll start out, like I said, with some ideas for student video projects. The obvious and the most commonly done project is to have a student record a PowerPoint presentation just as they would if they were doing the presentation in class, but instead they record it. That's useful, obviously, if you're teaching an online class and you can't bring students in live to do presentations. You can have them record their PowerPoint presentation. But you can also use that in a face-to-face class to maybe have your students record their presentations, let the students watch them outside of class time, and then use those presentations as a jumping off point for other class discussion or some other part of a class project. So that's your most common situation. Other options are if you are doing some other project or some other presentation, you can always add a tour, a video tour of a location, for example. So, for example, you might have your students videotape a laboratory environment or a hospital environment or a classroom environment, or for the equine program, a barn, or any type of a historic or literary or artistically significant location. Like, for example, if you send your students out to a local museum and then have them compare their the visual arts to the whatever they're reading in class, that sort of thing. So if you do a video of that sort of thing, you can add it to another presentation. You can add a recording of some sort of an action, like a laboratory experiment or a field experiment, or some sort of field experience, not just a experiment that the students do in the field, but some sort of a field experience, like in teaching or in nursing, or perhaps a horse therapy session or something else that the students are doing in the barn or with their horses, anything like that. Something that the student is actually acting in, participating in. For Becky, for example, since she's doing a play right now, it might be interesting to have the students record various stages and various aspects of the production of the play. Maybe they're brainstorming of how they're going to set the stage. Maybe they're brainstorming of their first reading, those sorts of things. And another idea is to have students in their presentations record interviews of themselves with other students or with faculty or with professionals in the field. Those types of brief interviews as part of a larger presentation can really bring something significant, something important to a presentation. So that can be a really fun thing to do. Now, let's just brainstorm some more for some non-traditional formats for student videos. In addition to what we've already talked about, just a traditional presentation, which maybe adds some video elements, you can do a video project that is a completely different format, like, for example, a news broadcast. The students can pretend to be, can set up their presentation so that it mimics a news broadcast, if that would be applicable to your type of classroom. I can think of instances where that might be valuable in the business classroom or in the sports management classroom. Students might create a portfolio, a video blog, of the stages of a long-term class or program project. So, for example, if you have students in your Writing 380 class or Bio 405 or Equine 426 where they're doing a long research project or some other type of project, you might have them videotape themselves reflecting on the different stages of the project and how it's going and that sort of thing, just to make them more conscious of the project and to give you insight into their thought process throughout the project. So that can be a interesting video project for students. You can have the students create a learning summary of something that they've done. So, for example, a student records, the student has completed a unit in a class, and then they create a recording where they talk about what they've learned, they talk about their understanding of what they've learned, and how their understanding of the subject has evolved throughout the semester. And again, that provides the students with an opportunity to reflect on their learning, and it provides you with an opportunity as the faculty member to get an idea of where their heads are, where their learning actually is, and how they've perceived their learning. You might have the students do a project where they record a commentary or a critique connecting something that they've discussed in class with a real-world event. Or you might have the students record a review of something that they've read in class and connect it to a book or an article or some class reading or a class discussion of some sort. Or you can have the students make a commercial. And obviously you wouldn't be having, well, maybe in a business class you would want them to sell something, I don't know, maybe for the marketing class. Or you could have them do a persuasive type of speech, but do it in the form of a commercial that they videotape, just to spice it up and have it be more fun. Okay, so those are just some ideas for assignments. Let's talk about designing a good video project, because video projects are a lot like the larger long-term research projects. This isn't something where you can just put in the syllabus and on December 5th your video project will be due. It needs a little bit more planning and a little bit more scaffolding to make it successful. So you want to be sure to give them an assignment that has the different stages and aspects of the video project laid out for them. I think I have an example open here. In my, I teach a class called ICT 200 at University of Kentucky, and their video project is how might I use what I learned in this class to improve my research process for a paper or project in one of my classes this semester. That is their final topic. The class, the ICT 200, is an information literacy class where the students are taught how to do research. And so they're supposed to, throughout the semester, take what they learn in class and apply it to research that they're doing in another class. And you see I have it broken down. Step 1, choose the assignment that you're going to use. Step 2, for the creative versus critical thinking unit, do this particular video project. So I have the video broken down into different parts to make it more manageable and more understandable for the students. So in other words, start with some sort of a brief. A set of objectives to be realized, constraints that you would like them to obey, and benchmarks throughout the semester so that you see that they're doing the work and they're kind of forced to do it in stages rather than putting it all off to the end. Because as we know, when they do a large research project and put it off to the end, it's usually a pretty serious failure. Well, a video project, when you're adding the technology difficulties to the research difficulties, it will be a spectacular failure if you don't break it down into those stages. For video projects, I would recommend trying projects that start out with the phrase, how might we do something? That's just basic project-based learning strategy, and it can lead to a really good video project, something that is more meaty, something that they can really work with. Since video projects combine the difficulties of research and the difficulties of technology, it's particularly important in video projects to form smart teams. And by that I mean the obvious. Don't put all of your technologically savvy students in one group and leave everybody else out in the cold. But also try to think about, try to ask the class, try to survey the class. Which one of you folks have done videos just on your own? Which ones of you guys consider yourselves creative? Which ones of you students have worked with photography and design in the past? Because there's a lot of those elements in creating a good video project. And try to split the groups up so that there are a variety of different people in all the teams when possible. And make team rules for better brainstorming when they're doing a video project, because video projects are going to require a lot of planning and a lot of project management and a lot of brainstorming and a lot of mapping of the concepts and the sequence of concepts. And so you don't want, you want to kind of tell the groups to don't squelch ideas. In the beginning, just run wild with the ideas. Accept anything, write it all down without judging it. Do stay focused on the topic and do build on the ideas of others, but just let it go. And then once you have all the ideas on the table, then you can start paring them down to what is essential for the project. But if you immediately, if somebody comes up with an idea and somebody else immediately shuts it down, that might be too limiting for a project. So encourage students to defer judgment and allow the wild ideas and then pare back later. And the fact is that when you're doing a video project, it gets messy before it gets good. So you have to encourage the students to just embrace the mess. Embrace a variety of takes if that's what's necessary. Embrace the fact that you may have recorded something that you loved, but in the end, it just doesn't fit into the final cut and you're going to have to edit it out. But allow the mess to happen before you start cutting things out. So those are some tips for designing video projects. Let's go ahead and focus then on what we can use to actually create video projects. And I'm going to talk tonight briefly about 3 tools. PowerPoint, which is the one that I think most students will use. Flipgrid, which is a really easy tool for the types of video blogging that I talked about where the students are making kind of reflection videos. And Spark, Adobe Spark, which is a really easy tool to piece videos together. But before we get into these tools, I do want to remind everybody that here in the library, if you're worried about doing video projects where the students have to go out and video record things like field experiences or lab experiences or things like that, if you're worried about students having the equipment, or if you're worried about them maybe not being able to take video from their camera if they use their camera to the computer, if you're worried about the difficulties of those things, do remember that in the library we have a video camera that students can check out for projects, and we also have the Camtasia room. So if students are able to get to campus, they can use those resources. But the things that I'm going to show you, PowerPoint, Flipgrid, and Adobe Spark, can be done with just a computer or with a phone. So let's go ahead and have a look at those. And to do that, I'm going to break out of my PowerPoint slide real quick. And I'm going to start out with how to record using PowerPoint, because that is kind of the most common thing that people do, and it's super easy. When I am in PowerPoint here, if I go up to the ribbon and I go to the slideshow tab and I go to this button right here, record a slideshow, I can choose to either start recording from the beginning or start recording from the current slide. Obviously, most of the time you're going to start recording from the beginning. But I can start recording from the current slide just for now. That pops up, select what you want to record. You want to leave slide and animation timings and narrations, ink, and laser pointing, laser pointer checked, and then you click start recording. I'm going to click cancel because I don't want to record on top of my recording. But once you click start recording, then you just go into the PowerPoint display mode, just like normal, run through your slides, and everything is being recorded. So that is a really easy way to record PowerPoint. Now, how do you communicate that to your students? Maybe you don't have the time or the ability to meet with students in an online class. Well, if you go to our Teaching with Technology blog, LibGuide, which is midwaylibguides.com/teaching with technology, then under Promote Communication, we have a video which shows people how to create videos with PowerPoint, and a Adobe PDF of how to create a video presentation using PowerPoint. So you can just share the video link or share the PDF or both with your students, and they can follow the directions. We also have directions for how to do this on a Mac because it's slightly different. So that is something that you can easily share with your students so that they can create videos using PowerPoint. And you don't need anything else other than a computer with a microphone and PowerPoint. Simple as that. Okay. Our next tool for creating videos is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is you just go to www.flipgrid.com and you can sign in with your Google account or with Facebook, or you can create an account using your Midway email address, whichever. And once you do that, it will give you what they call a grid. This is my grid. And this is an example of a way that I use Flipgrid for my Spanish classes when I'm teaching Spanish. What the students do, this is my view of it as a professor. So I can click on this student. She has recorded something. Enter the password for the grid. So this is password protected. And then there is that student doing her presentation. Here's another student doing hers. another student doing hers, etc. And you can see it's pretty obvious they just did those with their phone. I can do it, and they can do it with the computer just by clicking on tap to record. And that will turn on the video camera on their computer and record them doing their presentation. So this is a great tool if you want students to do reflections, but you want to be able to share the reflections too. With these, you can either share them with Flipgrid, you can either share each student's presentation, or you can make each student's presentation private so that only you can see it. But if you want to create some kind of asynchronous conversation during the class, encouraging students to reflect on their learning, then this is a great tool to do that. And this tool also comes with an app that they can use on their phone, which I'll show you in a second. But I want to show you Adobe Spark first, so that I only break out and show you the phone tools both at the same time. So another tool that students can use to create videos is Adobe Spark, and I have that open right here. Again, for this, you just go to spark.adobe.com and you log in with either your Gmail account or your Facebook account, or you can create an email-based login. And it takes you to a page like this one. To create a video, you just click on this plus up here, and you can either create a graphic or a web page or a video. Obviously, video is applicable today. And then a video editor opens up. Becky, I'm going to get to your question in a second. So you put in the title of your video, and you can click one of these themes, or you can click Start from Scratch. And then the thing that I like about this tool is it allows you to put in different slides, and the different slides you can upload videos. So if you have had a student recording a series of videos throughout the semester and you'd like them to all be knitted together in a little project, you could have the students use Spark to maybe they'll put text on this slide or an image on this slide, and then they can click this little record button and record themselves doing a little introduction to the whole project. And then on this slide, they could, that's the credit slide. On this slide, then they could put in a video, and then they could put in another slide where they add some more, another picture maybe, or some text, and another recording introducing the next section of video, et cetera, until they've put together all of their sections of video into one big video. And this is just a very easy tool to use for editing. So it makes the piecing together of videos easier. Because if you're using a more sophisticated tool like Camtasia or something like that, it can get a little intimidating. Now, Becky has a question. Do you just save your recording like any other PowerPoint? Okay, so let me answer that for all three of these tools that we've talked about. For the PowerPoint, when you use the slideshow, record slideshow, when you are finished and you click end for, so I'm here and I've gone through all of my slides, and then I click escape to go back out of presentation mode, then it comes up and it says that it has a recording to save, and where would you like to save it. So it saves the PowerPoint recording that you just made as an MP4 file, in other words, as a video file. So then the students have a video with the PowerPoint slides in the background and the audio of what they've said recorded, and they can save that to their desktop. What you can do with that we'll talk about in a minute. Now with Flipgrid, when they're using Flipgrid, that tool saves those videos that the students make to the cloud. So they are automatically up in the cloud, and you can link to them and get a share link to share with other people if you want to. Same thing with Spark Video. With Spark Video, I can either download my video to save it as an MP4, a video file, or I can just get a link and leave the video up in the Adobe Cloud. And that's free. All of these tools are free to the students. I think that answers your question. Does anybody else have any other questions going forward? Okay. So those are 3 tools which I highly recommend for these types of projects. Again, what if you like the idea of using these, you're just not sure how to teach these to your students? We have all of these on our Teaching with Technology website. So here is a video instruction for how to use Flipgrid, and here are instructions for faculty for using Flipgrid and for students. So you could just share this page with the students. For Spark, here is a video on how to use Spark, and here is written instructions on how to use Spark. So again, you can just share those with your students and kind of let them go to town. Okay, now I'm going to break out of sharing my screen real quick. And I am going to turn my video on just so that I can show you that for both of these tools that I've talked about, for Flipgrid, am I going to be able to make that without glare? Not so well. The point is that Flipgrid, this is Flipgrid. It has an app for your phone, and to use it, you just click the little green plus sign, and Spark Video, this will be even worse. Spark Video also has a tool for your phone. So in either case, you can use your phone to use those 2 tools. So that makes it really easy for the students to use those whenever they want to. Okay, now here's the $1 million question. Once you have these videos, how do you share them? That's the problem that a lot of professors run into. The reason that we decided to do this particular presentation for FDI is because we get a lot of questions from both faculty and students that say, you know, the student will say, my faculty member had me make this presentation, I've recorded it, but now I'm trying to upload it to Moodle and it's not working, it won't let me. Well, that's the thing. Moodle has a maximum file size of 64 megabytes. There's no way that a student is going to make a movie that's smaller than 64 megabytes. So how do you share these videos? If you have created a PowerPoint video and saved it as an MP4 file, or if you have created a Adobe Spark video and saved it as an MP4 file, you cannot upload those files to Moodle. They will be above 64 megabytes. So how do you get them shared? You are going to have to instruct your students to either upload the video to OneDrive or upload the video to YouTube, and then share the link with you in Moodle. So how do you choose between OneDrive or YouTube? YouTube is public. So if the presentation is something that the student feels comfortable putting in a public place that anybody could view, and if the presentation is something that FERPA allows us to share in public view, then you can put it on YouTube. But you have to be aware of certain limitations on that. For example, if the video includes the faces of other people, particularly in the case of education students who are filming their, like for example, their student teaching, or probably in the case of nursing students who are filming clinicals which involve real patients and not simulated patients, then YouTube probably would violate HIPAA and FERPA, if not both. So that may not be your best option. OneDrive is our recommended option because videos uploaded to OneDrive will be accessible only to people within our organization. In other words, if you don't have a Midway email address and password, you're not going to be able to access OneDrive. So how would this work? Again, I'm going to break out of my PowerPoint presentation, and I'm just going to point out that, again, on the Teaching with Technology LibGuide, we have instructions at the very bottom for sharing videos using YouTube and for using Office 365. So if you need to help your students do this, you can share these PDFs. But I want to show you guys how it works so that you can see it. Let's look at sharing with OneDrive first. I find it easiest to get to my OneDrive by going to my Midway and going to my Outlook email, okay? And once that loads, you go to these little squares up here, and these are all your apps, but notice they're not all here. You want to click on All Apps, scroll all the way down to the bottom. Come on, computer, catch up with me. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and go to Video. Then that takes you to the location where people can share videos. Now, I have admin access, so I can see everybody's videos, which is why I can see my own, but I can also see, for example, Joel Jones's videos. But the students would only be able to see, and faculty members would only be able to see their own. So a student would be able to then click Upload, and then they would select their own channel to upload to, and then they would click here or drag their MP4 file to here to upload that video. And then once their video is here, let's see, where is my channel? Are these alphabetical? I'll just use the center. Once their video is there, they would only see their own channel. Then they can either get, either click on email to get the link to the video, or they can click on embed to get the embed code for the video. And depending on whether you want them to send you the embed code or the just the plain old link, that is what they would share in Moodle. And we'll talk about that in a second. So that is how uploading to the OneDrive video works. And since that is private, that is what I most recommend. Go ahead and close these. So how would it work for YouTube? Oops, you got to spell YouTube right. For YouTube, you just go to youtube.com and again, learn a little bit of patience. I've been on YouTube all day long uploading videos, so I'm already logged in. But if you're not logged in, you would click here and sign in using your Gmail account. If you've got a Gmail account, you've got a YouTube channel. And once you're signed in, you will be able to click this little icon right here, and that will allow you to upload a video. So that'll take you to this screen, and again, you can drag your MP4 file here, or you can click here to search for it on your computer. And then once you have, once you've done that, let me go back to my channel real quick. Once you've done that, you just click on the video that you've uploaded, and no, don't play. And you click on share, and that will either give you the link, or if you as a professor want the embed code so that that can be copied and pasted into Moodle. And then the students would go to Moodle. Sorry, I was helping somebody right before our webinar started. The students would go to Moodle. They would go to your class, and you would have an assignment, and just pick one of these topics. It doesn't matter. Add an activity or resource, add an assignment, and when you create the assignment, you will want to create this so that they can, instead of the default, just file submissions, you want probably to turn off file submissions so they don't try to upload that huge video file. Just turn on online text. And then when you save that, what the students will see when they go to add submission is this text blank where they can give you the link that they got from YouTube, or that they got from Spark, or that they got from OneDrive. They'll just put that link in there and save their submission, and then you will be able to look at the link to the videos, and that way they will actually be able to turn in their videos in a way that doesn't cause them any trouble or confusion. Does that make sense to anybody? Does anybody have any questions about that part? Okay, does anybody have any questions at all? Hold on, let me open chat. I think I see a question coming up in chat, but for some reason my chat box is closed. Here it is. Okay, cool. Well, if anybody has any questions, then feel free to stay on and ask them or put them in the chat. But always remember that if you would like to do any of these types of projects, but you're worried about how it would go, or if you're doing one and you're running into problems, then feel free to contact the center at midway.edu, and one of us here would love to help you with these video projects, because they really are a fabulous way to enrich, especially the online classes, but even the face-to-face classes, and give you some really interesting learning artifacts that you can keep from semester to semester and show your students in 2020 what your 2019 students did to inspire them. So thank you all very much for attending.